What's an unfun fact? There are at least 8 nuclear weapons known to be missing. Edit. Just woke up to this. Thank you for the awards. And thank you for wishing me a happy cake day. How the hell do you lose a nuke? Piper Perry, the girl on the couch with 5 black guys behind her meme, came home from a shoot one night to find that her boyfriend had shaken her toddler to death. That's actually really ducking sad. When preparing a body for an open casket, the mortician will sew the person's jaw shut to keep their mouth from flopping open and place special contact lenses on the eyes lined with hooks, both to keep the eyelid from snapping open due to shrinking tissues and to give the eye a bit more natural bulge, as the eye tends to sink into the socket after death. My father is a mortician who now works for a university, but during his time as a funeral director, he embalmed some brothers who were in a terrible accident. This was a few years ago, when I was in high school. They had been run over by a car, exposing their skulls. The family wanted an open casket, so my dad had to make them look as presentable as he could. He said that he had to fill the skulls with something hard because, yeah, he managed to make them look good and the family was happy. It's an art. A lot of it involves makeup and craftsmanship to make someone look like they're sleeping, so as not to freak out the family. It's definitely not a profession for the faint of heart. Suicide bombers are a lot easier to identify post-mortem than you'd expect. This is because the blast from the suicide belt hits the base of the head in such a way that the head pops off like a cork. Investigators therefore have a relatively intact head to ID. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. In response to speculation in the comments, I'd like to say that I'm not a veteran, a forensics expert, or a gore site editor, and I have not witnessed this in person, although I have seen a couple of photos. I'm just a true crime guy who looked into the forensics after the St. Petersburg and Manchester bombings in 2017. My original source was a quote by journalist Jobby Warwick. I like Billy Canale's bit about training suicide bombers. Right, lads, pay attention. I'm only going to show you this once. That brain-eating amobus exists at all, and is also pretty commonly found in freshwater ponds and lakes. Apparently only 4 people have survived getting it in the last 50 years. I have a friend that got LASIK eye surgery, and then 2 months after she started getting eye pain and was losing her vision, somehow, a flesh-eating amoeba got into her eye via the eye flap left over from the surgery and started eating her cornea. She was in serious pain and eventually lost all sight. Seems like they managed to kill off the amoeba and then she got a cornea transplant. Chiz was crazy. Edit. Curiosity got the better of me after literally 20k plus upvotes and a gazillion comments of her being stupid for not following protocol, so I double checked with her. She said she'd been invited to go lazy river kayaking, just a few blow up kayaks and light drinking on a slow river. 5 months after her surgery, had called her surgeon to ask if it was safe, and he said she should be fine as normally the outer layer heals after 5ish weeks, and to just be safe. Nothing harrowing happened on the kayak trip. She tried her best to not actually let her head go underwater, but she had been splashed in the face a few times and that had to have been it. She was just extremely unlucky and found out that at some point after the surgery the flap hadn't settled in the perfectly correct position and there was the tiniest opening. It wasn't her fault, nor the surgeon's fault. Just an incredibly unlucky experience, and she often catches herself reminiscing, what if I'd never gotten the surgery in the first place? But she clarified that her experience was super rare and tons of people get successful LASIK and should still consider it if they wanted to. Tapeworms can grow up to 32 feet inside of you, and they eat half of what you eat. People used to consume them on purpose to lose weight. Edit. Was not expecting so many worm comments. Female ducks get raped so frequently that they have a second decoy vagina that they can offer to intruders, so they don't get pregnant by the duck they don't want to get pregnant by. Edit. Holy cheese. This blew up. Thank God it was about duck pussies. Wouldn't have wanted to waste it on something stupid. Females' primary vaginas also are twisted with spikes at the ends to fend off male ducks. Unfortunately, male ducks' penises are also twisted. There is a whale called 52 Blue that only sings at that frequency, meaning it can't communicate with other whales. It is nicknamed the loneliest whale on the planet. There's a theory that the whale is either deaf or a hybrid species of two different kinds of whale, making a song that is in between those two. People who handle cockroaches develop allergies to them. This usually prevents them from drinking pre-ground coffee because of the cockroaches that get grounded in with the large batches. This is a viscerally unfun fact. There are more slaves today than any time in history. Wait, really? Only 1 in every 1,000 sea turtles born ever make it to adulthood. To add to this, saving baby turtles at the beach does less, almost nothing, for conservation compared to protecting adult turtles in the ocean. You have a higher chance of dying on the way to get a lottery ticket than actually winning. Which game are we talking, though? The numbers game, Megabucks, Powerball? Whales don't die of old age. Eventually they just don't have the strength to resurface and slowly drown. Maybe if they didn't ejaculate 40 gallons at a time they could live longer. Scuba divers can experience a sudden change in pressure when swimming near pipes and will get sucked inside. Doesn't matter the size of the hole. It's called delta P. Worst part? Someone else usually has to go inside the pipe to remove the body. The video of the crab being sucked into the tiny crack in the pipe comes to mind when I read this. In 2014 the CDC once found a smallpox sample that they had lost and didn't even know it. It was just laying around in some random storeroom. NPR. This week in Storage Wars. The female tarantula hawk wasp stings a tarantula between the legs, paralyzes it, then drags the prey to a specially prepared burrow where a single egg is laid on the spider's abdomen and the entrance is covered. Sex of the larvae is determined by fertilization. Fertilized eggs produce females, while unfertilized eggs produce males. When the wasp larva hatches, it creates a small hole in the spider's abdomen, then enters and feeds voraciously, avoiding vital organs for as long as possible to keep the spider alive. After several weeks, the larva pupates. Finally, the wasp becomes an adult and emerges from the spider's abdomen to continue the life cycle. With a name like tarantula hawk wasp, of course it has to do something as bad and brutal as this. Touching an AM radio broadcast tower will kill you, and not only will it kill you, but it will hurt the entire time you're dying. Number 1, the voltage is so high that your hands would instantly clamp to whatever charged part of the tower you touched. Then because it's oscillating at a frequency your cells can't feel, you wouldn't be able to feel yourself being electrocuted until it starts to heat your body from the current. And you'd also be able to hear your body acting as a speaker, where you'd literally be able to hear whatever was on that particular station as you die. Here's an example of the sheer power running through one of these things. Edit. Since people asked, touching an FM broadcast tower won't have nearly the same effect. The tower is hundreds of feet high, and unlike AM radio where the tower itself is the antenna, the actual antenna is only about 20 to 30 feet long at the very top. Also FM radio uses a lot lower power, only usually 100 to 1000 watts, compared to AM radio where usually 1000 to 50,000 watts are used. So unless you climb all the way to the top of the tower, there's no danger of any burns. Also, in regard to 5G, as stated previously, AM radio uses an incredible amount of power. 5G uses so much less power, on the order of 1 to 15 watts. Also, radio waves are considered non-ionizing radiation, meaning the only danger with them is a small heating effect at higher frequencies, kinda like a microwave. But also keep in mind that your microwave uses 1500 watts. This is because the wavelength of these radio waves is literally too big to interact with your cells in any way. There's no danger whatsoever here. The power depicted in that video comes from the electricity flowing through the tower, not the radio waves themselves. Duck in hell. I've been living near a tower like that for all my life and always wondered how it would be to climb. I guess not fun after this fact. Deep sea octopus babies take 5+ years to hatch, while mama octopus never leaves the nest to feed and dies when the babies hatch. She doesn't eat for 5+ years. Edit. Oh my, this really blew up. Many of you pointed out the source already. It is from Radiolab Optimum episode. I highly recommend. At least she has her mate's detached penis to play with. Anyone can have a brain aneurysm at any age, no matter your health situation. My 21-year-old friend had one as he walked in the door to his house. He still lived with his mother, father, and sister, and his parents were making dinner in the kitchen. He asked for a glass of water, intending to take some painkillers for his sore head, and then he just fell over. The doctors said he was dead before he hit the floor. It was, and still is, devastating. Fatal familial insomnia exists. It's a rare, incurable prionic brain disease that progressively destroys your brain's ability to sleep. Eventually you stop sleeping altogether, go insane, have seizures, and die. Prions are scary, no cure/treatment, and mostly deadly. But they're rare at least. If they became somehow common like a rhinovirus, humans would almost be wiped out. Whales can ejaculate 40 gallons of semen at a time. Most of it doesn't make it in. Edit. Had a whale come equals sea salty. That must be what impregnated my mom, and that's why I look like this. Cockroaches stab their mates with their barbed insect ricks and come in the lady cockroach wound. You forgot the part where male cockroaches don't know if who they are stabbing is male or female, so they're really just coming in random roaches and hoping for the best. A single female tiger killed 436 people in India. She is known as the Champawat tiger. Wikipedia. That fact's not as fun as your profile. You live up to your name and I will never get tired of it. When a male bee drone ejaculates, its testicles explode and the drone dies. It is literally a one-shot wonder. This is also a drone bee's only job. The males are literally slaves only used for breeding, and when autumn comes and the hive hibernates, all the drones are forced out of the hive to die in the cold. Dolphins in captivity usually commit suicide by suffocating themselves. Famous example, Flipper. It gets worse, they do this by consciously deciding to not breathe until they die. It's less pressing a pillow against your own face and more holding your breath so hard it kills you and you are awake and aware the entire time. When your skin becomes red from spending too much time under the sunlight, it's basically because your skin cells are committing suicide to avoid becoming cancerous. Edit. Source Google. The process is called apoptosis, and when cells whose DNA gets messed up by radiation doesn't commit suicide, that's when it starts growing out of control and thus becomes skin cancer. I'm no expert, but many medical students and professionals I know have told me this is how it works, perhaps in an oversimplified manner. So when you get cancer, it's because that one stupid ducking skin cell was too much of a pussy to kill itself. This is a terrible thread to go through before bed. That's why I'm awake at 2 AM. Problem solved. Depends on what you find as fun, but King Henry VIII exploded in his coffin while the grave was being dug. The mess was cleared up by stray dogs. Build-up of geese in his body a morning. Judith Bossy, the little girl who voice acted Ducky in The Land Before Time, was murdered by her father at age 10. All they found of her and her mother were charred remains. The father shot himself after. Edit. I feel guilty now for spreading this sad fact so widely. Sorry to the many childhoods I'm told I have retroactively ruined. Tree star. Nope. Could have done without this one. Removed. Whoa, that's something that seems so innocent, but can be used so terribly. It makes you think how many times that this has happened before, and how many opinions can be silenced. As dead bodies decay, they burp or release gas. For this reason, caskets and mausoleums need to be ventilated so that the gas can escape. Chickens do this too. I had a hen die of a presumed heart attack. As I moved it from the coop, it let out loud chicken noise that gave me an out-of-body experience. Sea otters kill and rape baby seals, not always in that order. Seagulls are also known to eat baby seals' eyeballs. There could be some planets swimming in the deep space without suns and even without galaxies, and you can't even see stars from their surface. Absolute darkness. Creepier is that rogue planets can theoretically harbor life. You may have heard that South Koreans have a superstition called fan death, where if you keep a fan on too long it will kill you. The history of its origins is much darker. When people committed suicide and the coroner had to determine cause of death, they would say it was death by fan. This is to save the face of the family and not cause them shame. It eventually became a superstition and one that Westerners find funny. Finally, an explanation for this. My fault for not trying to find it out myself earlier, but at long last, an answer. Was wondering WTF this chiz was about. First time I heard about it was when my ex, non-Korean, asked me, Korean by heritage, if me and all my family believed that leaving a fan on and going to sleep would kill us. An octopus will literally rip its own penis off and throw it at a female, and the female ducks herself with said penis. Who said romance is dead? Male octopus, you know what, denies? Go FCK yourself. Proceeds to rip off and throw Rick. Brush-tail possums are coprophagic, eat their own chews. They need their food to go through their digestive system twice to get all the nutrients. They are nocturnal, so spend the night eating eucalyptus and other plant leaves and flowers. During the day, they curl up into a little ball with their mouths closed to their bums and eat the soft poo as it comes out in. Then while they're out at night, they poo out hard long pellets of poo, having absorbed all the nutrients. That's just gross. A human tooth has 36 calories. Stay in school, don't do drugs, eat your teeth. Squirrels will eat baby birds and horses will eat baby chicks, if given the chance. Pandas will eat mice and other small animals on a regular basis. Most, if not almost all, species of animals will eat other animals for a multitude of reasons. When the gas chambers were first implemented and experimented with at the Auschwitz concentration camp, the SS soldiers that oversaw the process found that the people inside would start screaming as soon as the gas agent was dropped in. The screaming was so loud that it could be heard through the thick walls of the building, and the victims would continue screaming over the course of 20 minutes until it gradually faded to nothing. The screaming disturbed the soldiers, believe it or not, so they tried to think of a way to drown out the noise so they didn't have to hear it. Their idea was to get 2 motorcycles and rev the engines as loudly as they could at the same time during those 20 minutes. It didn't work. And man I knew spent 5 years in Nazi camps, aged 15 to 18. 5 years into it, he was sent to the gas chamber line for being unproductive. He didn't have the energy to care. Everyone he loved was dead by then. While waiting in line, one of the other Nazi soldiers recognized him and walked up and slugged him in the stomach and shouted, "Get back to work," and pulled him out of line. Edit. For anyone interested. His name was Walter Wiener, and he wrote a book called From a Name to a Number. He was elderly man, obviously, that I played Scrabble with for several years. And he was very good for someone whose native language isn't English. Every unborn baby grows a mustache in the womb, which then spreads to cover the entire body. The baby then eats the entire hair called lanugo and excretes it after birth with their first bowel movement, which is a substance called meconium. This legitimately sounds like a made-up fact. I had to Google lanugo to confirm this was even a thing. Thanks for this trivia. Molly in Finding Nemo should really turn into a woman and Nemo becomes the husband. That's what happens when the female dies. There's a film theory video that aids this is gradually happening in the movies. Pretty much any fact about koalas counts as an unfun fact. They're like an evolutionary train wreck. For example, they eat only 2 things which are an incredibly toxic plant and their own cheese, and cheese eating gave most of them chlamydia. Deforestation in the Amazon got up 55% from January to April. Nobody's watching, slash and burn it all, so we make a couple more bucks. The most common last words that are said before dying is typically something doesn't feel right or something is wrong. Of course, followed by a severe heart attack slash stroke slash whatever. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. My best friend's last words were I feel faint as his aorta burst. Your lips are made of the same skin as your anus. Do you have lips on your or an anus for a mouth? Spicy foods make a lot more sense knowing that. This article on wait.we.com is full of unfun facts. But, if you read it, maybe you can take action against it. It's called The Tail End Wait But We. Here's an especially unfun excerpt. I've been thinking about my parents, who are in their mid-60s. During my first 18 years, I spent some time with my parents during at least 90% of my days. but since heading off to college and then later moving out of Boston, I've probably seen them an average of only 5 times a year each, for an average of maybe 2 days each time. 10 days a year. About 3% of the days I spent with them each year of my childhood. Being in their mid-60s, let's continue to be super optimistic and say I'm one of the incredibly lucky people to have both parents alive into my 60s. That will give us about 30 more years of coexistence. If the 10 days a year thing holds, that's 300 days left to hang with mom and dad. Less time than I spent with them in any one of my 18 childhood years. When you look at that reality, you realize that despite not being at the end of your life, you may very well be nearing the end of your time with some of the most important people in your life. If I lay out the total days I'll ever spend with each of my parents, I'm as lucky as can be. This becomes starkly clear. It turns out that when I graduated from high school, I had already used up 93% of my in-person parent time. I'm now enjoying the last 5% of that time. We're in the tail end. Alright, campers. I heard from an anonymous source that someone was spreading the feels. Not cool, dudes. Your nipples are older than your teeth. Need to change that phrase to looking a bit long in the nipple. The Zodiac Killer cold been caught numerous times, if not for San Francisco police / dispatch incompetence. Many serial killers flew under the radar because of police incompetence. Dahmer did, and maybe Bundy too. Allegedly, there are 50 active serial killers at any given time in the US. There's a species of river dolphin and there are less than 10 in the world. Everyone loves river dolphins. What's the species name? The youngest person to ever give birth was a Peruvian girl, Lina Medina, a Quechua Indian who gave birth to a child in 1939 at age 5. She had precocious puberty and had her first period at age 8 months. She may have been raped at a debauched indigenous religious festival where people often brought small children and rapes were known to occur. The man who raped her was never found, and she was silent about how she got pregnant. The delivery was by cesarean as vaginal delivery was deemed impossible. Her son was told that he was her little brother, and she also treated him in this manner. Obviously, she was an incompetent parent, preferring to play with dolls rather than tend to the baby, but that's to be expected. The case is well documented in medical journals, including photos of her pregnant body. It is also in the Guinness Book. She later married, had another son, went to work for the physician who delivered her, and lived a quite normal life. The son was healthy, but died young at age 40. She and her family both refused all requests to speak of the case, including offers of significant sums of money. As of 2008, she was still alive at age 75 and living in a slum in Lima, Peru. If she is still alive, she would be 87 years old. Wikipedia. This is the Wikipedia article about her. Deleted. Don't dolphins also abuse pufferfish to get high? On average 12 children are sexually assaulted every 45 seconds. Edit. This blew up overnight. First comment to get over 1k upvotes. For advice, some of my friends and family work in the police and child protection services. This is the number they told me. The sad part is, I instantly thought that fraction can be reduced. 4 children are sexually assaulted every 15 seconds is way more streamlined. There are only 2 states in the US that have outlawed child marriage. One of them only just put it into law a few weeks ago. 23 states don't even have an age limit on marriage. It's 3 states, New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania, with Pennsylvania being the one to outlaw it a few weeks ago. We still have a long way to go, though. Edit. Formatting. Male cats have spines on their penises that rake the walls of a female's vagina to trigger ovulation and to hold the female in place while mating. I know for a fact the female cats were not consulted about this. It takes longer to say www than it does to say World Wide Web. That's why I called it sextuple. It'll give you 2. The most common cause of death for tall people is a heart attack, brought on by the fact that their hearts just naturally have to work harder than average to circulate all that blood through that larger body. Left-handed people are most likely to die in an accident involving a power tool, because they're all designed by right-handed people, for right-handed people. Imtall, 66, 501. 98 meters, and I'm left-handed. Which one will it be for me? Edit. Yay. My first ever award. I got a yikes. Thank you, generous Redditor. Edit 2. The most upvotes I've ever had by far, and now 4 awards. Thank you, fellow Redditors. Oh, man. I almost killed myself with this right-handed power tool. My heart is really racing, because of it dies. One day your mother put you down, and has never picked you back up again. One day you went out to play with your childhood friends, came home, and then never went out to play with them again. The atrocities that the Belgians committed in Congo during their colonial rule. Most of the people still don't know about it. Picture like the one below is an example of the barbaric Belgian rule. Father stares at the hand and foot of his 5-year-old, severed as a punishment for failing to make the daily rubber quota. Belgian Congo, 1904. I think this wins most unfun. Around 1.5 million people die from TB annually, which is a disease consistently treatable by antibiotics in almost all cases. In most places where TB is endemic, HIV is also endemic, and you see a lot of comorbidity with those two. Even if people can afford and access antibiotics, their immune systems are often too compromised to fight it off. There are a lot of bug parts that we eat in our food without knowing. Just getting those extra nutrients I don't have to pay for. Bunnies eat their own poop regularly, often directly from their A. Not exactly. Bunnies have 2 different types of poop, one being pellets, the one most commonly seen, that they do not eat. The other type is a smaller, raspberry looking cluster that they do eat, oftentimes as soon as it leaves their anus, because it has nutrients they need to digest. Source: I'm an owner of 2 messy rabbits, and this. Also, here are the poops side by side. Dead people can get goosebumps. How? Ted Bundy's Rick was 8 inches long. What dark corner of Reddit did you learn this from? The cat on the cover of Unfun, Jawbreaker's 1990 debut album, was named after Sammy Davis Jr. It's been almost an hour and no one has mentioned that the human a-hole expands wide enough for a raccoon to fit in it. That's usually the first fact that people post on these daily fact asks. That's because that's a fun fact. /150,000 people die every day. So you're saying there's a chance. The first responder to die in 911 was killed by someone jumping out of the building and landing on them. Why can I not find a single thing about this when I Google it? The sun is becoming hotter, and in about 1 billion years, the oceans will boil off, and our atmosphere will be unable to sustain any form of life. What if we take the planet and push it somewhere else? Your voice on recordings is actually how your voice really sounds. Your voice in your head is a bit muffled and deeper because the sound travels through your head instead of the air. That's why it feels weird to hear your own voice recorded. Edit. Actually, your recorded voice is a bit high-pitched. It takes a very good microphone to capture your real voice, but the one in your head is, most of the time, way off. In my head I sound like Keanu Reeves, but in my recordings I sound like walrus squeaking. Bananas are slightly radioactive. Yes, 42,000 bananas in an hour will give you radiation poisoning. Ike. There are more tigers held in captivity in the USA than in the wild across the world. The next Einstein could have very well been born, but never had access to proper resources to grow. The real question is how often somebody is born with historic genius level of intelligence, and what fraction of them are born into circumstances that allow them to put it to good use. If 1 out of every big number of people are super geniuses, then the rising access to education and the internet is fantastic news. Parvovirus can infect dogs and cats at any particular age and kill them pretty efficiently. It's especially good at doing this with puppies. There's no cure and no antiviral, just boosters and hydration forth you can give them. When a dog comes home healthy from the recovery from a parvo infection, they're contagious for 2 weeks, and if they pee, poop or vomit anywhere at all, including dog parks, that freaking virus is able to survive for up to a year, including in 100+ degree weather. Parvovirus sucks. I used to work at a local pet shop. They stopped selling puppies 16 years ago because they got a litter in and all 6 puppies had parvo. Only one survived, and the owner kept that one dog and decided to never sell puppies again. That puppy is still alive today and is doing well. The moon is slowly moving away from the earth, meaning in the future people will only be able to see a small light. Saturn's rings, whilst beautiful, we are created by Saturn literally ripping our icy moon apart, causing the pieces to spread out, forming a ring. After a while, large bits of debris pulled in lesser bits and formed the moons that carved out the lines. Jupiter's eye is shrinking, meaning the red spot will one day be gone. The star known as Betelgeuse, can never spell it, will have, or at some point will go supernova, and we'll see that after the light reaches here. It'll light up the sky as bright as day for a while. Okay, I don't know unfun facts. A wandering black hole with sufficient mass could easily pull the sun and or any planets away from their normal orbits. And these particular black holes wander, hence their names. So one could pass by at any time and we would be screwer. For the moon fact, once the moon absorbs enough rotational energy from the earth that they are both tidally locked, it will stop moving away. Both will be consumed by the sun before this happens, though. Each day, 43 children are diagnosed with cancer in the United States, which means 590 children in the US are diagnosed each year. Cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in American children, resulting in the death of approximately 1,800 kids each year. Edit, Blue Imgur. Another unfun fact. As I'm sitting here reading this thread about cancer, my dog is dying from it. I'm pretty much devastated. I'm currently at a loss to explain how I feel about the fact that my comment about cancer has blown up at exactly this moment. Do me a favor and send a little positive mental vibes to my sweet boy before you go to sleep, and cherish the things you have while they're here. I know how ducking corny this might seem to some of ya, but I'm just so ducking broken, and I want to put out something positive from my situation. Also, many of those who survive end up fighting cancer again later in life due to treatment for the first cancer. It's still 2020. Dolphins duck people. They said unfun facts. When you clean a vacuum cleaner, you become the vacuum cleaner, and in turn make a vacuum cleaner. If left without food long enough, your cat will eat your dead body. This happened to my great grandfather. He wasn't found for a couple days after death and his cat had eaten his ankles. Personally, it'd be okay with this. Just because I'm dead doesn't mean my cat has to die too. I won't even feel it. More Americans died in 2 months from COVID-19 than 10 years of Vietnam. US coronavirus death toll reaches 100,000 Vietnam. You guys are having deaths. Oh my. You watched until the end? That's ducking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.